Welcome, beautiful artists. And you are an artist if you were pulled to start something like watercolors. Maybe you've been a past oil painter, acrylics, or pencil, or whatever it is, and watercolors is kind of capturing your attention. You're in the right place here. So I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible, but I wanted to take a moment and welcome you because it takes courage to step into something like this, but I guarantee you guys, you are gonna love watercolors. And I am creating this beginners playlist so you can kind of dive in here, get in here, and really learn. But I'm going to simplify it. There's so much I could go into, but I want to make it really simple for that beginner that's really getting in and has no idea what watercolors are. You can, oh, by the way, I have a free ebook. So download that because that can be a really great reference for you as you're going through these tutorials, and it'll kind of be a good reminder of the brush strokes and techniques and things like that. But watercolors, you are gonna love it. They're so transparent. They're so beautiful, the things you can do with it. If, you know, for me, I'm a floral painter. I've painted landscapes, I've worked professionally, commissions, my work was in boutiques up and down the San Diego coastline, and I loved it. I painted beach scenes and all those fun things. I did a whole series, as you see here in the corner, called my boho series. My work was featured in magazines, but the point here is, what I love to do now is just play. I love to have fun. I love to empower beginners that are just getting in here, and to encourage you that if you were pulled to this, there's an artist in you. And I don't want you to think that you have to be some amazing skilled artist, because what I notice in my workshops is when I work with somebody, especially one-on-one and in my group classes that I feature a couple times a month, and I can take a small group of people and I can see what you're doing, where you're struggling a little bit. I can kind of support you through that. And it's usually just a tweak, a little change. Maybe you use too much water. Maybe you need to turn your wrist a little bit. And all of a sudden, voila, you have busted through whatever that little frustration was. So what I want to do in this series is share with you, again, simplicity and some of the things I've learned. Listen, I went to college for several semesters decades ago, and back then it was the purest teachers. You used Artisto paper, you used Princeton brushes, Winsor Newton paints. But honestly, you guys, if you are starting out, unless you have the money to do that, then go for it. But you don't have to start out with those things, and that's what I'm going to show you in this first tutorial. I'm going to show you some of the art supplies that I have played with, all of these different ones in my workshops, in my group classes for years, and I found some really great supplies that are budget friendly. And you know, then once you get in, if you want to invest in those Winsor Newtons or the Princeton brushes or the Artisto paper, you can do that. But for starting out, I'm going to show you some papers, some paints, brushes that you can choose from that I have tried out for years and seen really, really great results from those. And they're not going to bust your bank. So let's get started. And again, I want to welcome you here. You are going to love watercolors. I know you're going to fall in love with it. Everybody does. It's so beautiful. It's that transparent magic, the way it flows. You're gonna love it. So let's just stop right there and let's get started. I'll see you in a minute. All right, everybody, well, welcome back. Here we are. Again, I am so excited to share with you the beauty of this beautiful medium, to allow you to see it, to dance and flow and surprise you. I am not kidding, in ways I have never found any other medium can, because it's so playful, it's unpredictable. It has this soft grace that really encourages you to let go and enjoy that process. And that's what I'm all about. So let's get started. I'm going to share with you, these are my choices, guys. I have been, like I said, you know, when I started out, my teachers were purists. You bought the top of the line, but I can't tell you how many papers and brushes I went through, and I didn't really know even how to take care of them. So I try to find affordable ways, and I have tried every paper, every paint, and really used them in my workshops, gotten the feedback, and I'm going to share with you what I think is fantastic. So these are some of the supplies we're going to start with. First of all, I just want to start with pigments. So let me show you something. Oh, I don't have it right here, but like I said, I started out with, Winsor Newton paints. That's what I was told to buy. I bought them in the tubes, and I just don't feel that's necessary unless you really want to start with the best. Yes, they have a higher light fastness for professional work. Light fastness meaning they aren't going to fade. But I'm telling you, what I'm going to show you, you're going to be so happy with. And if you decide to go professional, or you want to create a piece that's going to last forever, then, maybe use the Daniel Smith or the Winsor Newtons or the Grumbachers, or, some of those. What I'm going to go through first is, this is the Paul Rubens. I love all the Paul Rubens. They go from student to professional. But what I found is, in this specific case, this is the Meiliang. If you're watching my videos, you've seen I use these all the time. And watercolors are pigment and water mixed together. That's what they are. Water needs to become your friend. So when you order one of these tins, you're going to get, typically in almost any brand you go with, they're going to give you this swatch sheet. You can paint and see the colors. They give you the color numbers. They give you, typically, for the most part, a little pamphlet. It's going to have all the information on here. That light fastness, again, how well is it going to withstand light? It's going to give you pigment numbers, and there's a lot here, so I don't want to get into all that, but you're going to get that. You're going to get all these little half pans. Now, half pans are pretty much, as far as I've seen over the decades, that's standard. They're a half pan size. Let me grab a container here and show you what they look like. 1 second. They're a little square pan. Here we go. So this is one I've used quite a bit. They're hard, and they're removable, although I very rarely take them out. And I refill mine with a tube like this. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. But the half pans, all you do, a watercolor beginner, you may not know this, you spray them with a little water, just like that. That's it. And they soften up and they're ready to go. So that is what I recommend. Paul Rubens, Meiliang, you're going to be so happy with them. If you want that little bit of higher fastness, light fastness, go to the Pro Paul Rubens. But you are going to receive them in this, and you're just going to open them up, pull off the little wrapper, and I'll do that for you on this one. And this is what you see, this beautiful little hard cake of pigment. This little wrapper, I save these after I swatch them all out on that swatch card I showed you. And it has all the information on here, the pigment ratings, transparency, what pigments they used in here, all of that good stuff. So this is how you receive it. In this one in particular, they give you what they refer to as a water pen. This water pen is great. I love taking them when I hike or something, and it just has this little capsule in it. You unscrew, fill it with water, and you use a squeeze method. Again, I don't want to go too deep into these, but it is a good one because if you want to be portable, you don't have to bring a little water container. So you would be opening all these up, putting them back in here, and then they will look similar to this. Of course, mine have been used. So that's what you're going to receive with most pans. Of course, everything's different. This is the Paul Rubens Meiliang student set. And you guys, this paint is so creamy. It's so rich and soft. It just flows. Yet it has it's really important in watercolors to have this transparency. And as we get into that, you'll see that, what I'm talking about. So it has this transparency. Look, this is watercolors. This beautiful flow, this lightness, but yet it can get darker in value. So that's the beauty of these paints. And I have tried a lot of paints, guys. The next thing, watercolor paper. First off, you want to make sure it's specific to watercolors. 140 pound, cold pressed. Now there are a ton out there. It can get really confusing, and not every 140 pound cold pressed is going to be the same. I know it's confusing, so we're not going to go into that right here, but I have tried so many. Be careful, because the really, really inexpensive ones, you might find at, say, Michael's or somewhere like that, are not going to hold water. They're coated differently. They're just different. So not every 140 pound cold press watercolor paper is going to be the same quality. I tried so many. I love this Artisto one because numerous reasons. Number one, it's pretty thick, guys. It isn't 100% cotton, but it is nice. It's perforated. So if you want to tear this out and gift it or frame it, which you're going to be wanting to do, I promise you, you can pull it out. What I love to do is I have dozens of these, and I use them for reference. I put spring, summer, fall here and a date, or I'll put what holiday season, and I can always refer back to these. And this, you know, I'm a big aesthetic person, everyone. So, I mean, I even love, even the cover is inspiring. So I wanted to show you that. This is one I really recommend, and they're pretty reasonable. I think there are 3 of them for $21. Now, I will say if you live in the UK or out of the US, these are a little harder to get. So I'm going to show you something different. These are also pH neutral. They're acid free. So I love those. And by the way, let me show you this. They do have the Artisto pads in the larger size. And these are loose sheets, which you'll understand what I mean by that in a minute. So I buy both. And sometimes I even cut these. This is the 9-inch by 12-inch. So the second choice is if, you know, for whatever reason, you've been told or heard, I need 100% cotton, here's 100% cotton. Meiden is still really affordable. It's a great product. And these watercolor pads that I'm showing you right now, by the way, get cold pressed. Just start with that. We won't, again, we're not going to go into, there's actually hot press, cold press, and rough. But start with cold press for the newbies, for the beginners. And let me show you something else I love about this brand. Let me grab one. So here, once you open this, it's going to have a green protector sheet in there. Pull that out, because I have gotten emails from people saying I painted on the first sheet and it was horrible. That's just the protective sheet, guys. So the Meiden, this is called a block, and it's sealed on all 4 edges. What that means is you can use a lot of water. So watercolors, if you were to use watercolors on an inexpensive, cheap piece of paper, that paper is going to puddle, it's going to warp like crazy. Now, the Artisto pad I showed you does really well. You can use quite a bit of water, you guys, and it does well. But if you have 100% cotton and a block, it's going to do that much better. It's sealed on all the edges, and then it's just barely open in one little area here. And what you do is, after you've painted and your painting has dried, you can use a little palette knife or a little knife. You slip it under the top sheet. You pull it all the way around, it loosens up. Now you do this once it's dry and you've got your sheet. That's just a kind of little bit of a step up from the Artisto. And these are the papers I like. By all means, if you just want to paint on arches right from the get-go, it is going to be a little bit more. I went to Michael's the other day to buy a small pad of the arches for something, and it was $35, guys. I'm not using that unless I'm doing something professionally I'm going to sell. I wanted to show you this because going back to your pigments, you're going to notice, you know, some of these I use more. I love rose pink. I love the pinks. I love the blues, sap green, or tree green as it's called in the Meiliang. I love, so what I do, you cannot, unfortunately, buy these one little pan to refill the whole thing. I don't know why that's not available. It's kind of a common thing. So what I do, and number one, this whole pan is like $21, something like that. So at Christmas, I think in July, there's Prime Days, and I will stock up on a bunch of these. But here's something you can do as well. These are the tubes. Now, this is another way you can paint with watercolors. You can bypass the whole pan thing, but I like these because I can travel with them. So what you can do is I invested in a number of these as well. And these are the same watercolors. They're just in tube form here. So what I will do is I will just open a tube, and here's a whole bunch. I mean, I've got Winsor Newton, I've got Holbein, I've got I've got all of them, Daniel Smith. And what I will do is just open up one of these. Let me see if one needs to be refilled. Okay, I need to refill my green. In the Paul Rubens Meiliang, they call this tree green. It's pigment number 599, and that's as far as we're going to go. There's other readings on every tube. What I will do, if I don't know if you can see this, but my tree green, also by the way referred to as sap green in other manufacturers, I can open this little tube and I can just squeeze more into it. And there you go. So I do this quite often with the colors that I really love. Really easy, guys. And again, unfortunately, they don't sell these individually. If you're buying Winsor Newton, I know Winsor Newton sells tubes individually. Paul Rubens doesn't. But you know what? To be very honest, I have bought several of these. I end up using most of them, and the price point is so good, I'm fine with that. So that's just another choice with your watercolors. You can actually use these direct into your palette from here and just bypass that pan as well, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here is a palette. This is my desk palette, hence it's large. It's a little bit heavy, but look at how beautiful it is. I'm really big, you know, setting up your workspace is really important. You want a place that is gonna call to you when you step into it. For me, everything's clean and this crisp white, good quality meat and products, you guys. I just love them. And I have this big play area. And then I've put all my paints that I normally use all around the edge. So I love this. If you're working with tubes, you can just keep your paints in here. This one comes with a cover it up, and just use them that way. Now, I also use my pan, and I will get some of the paint on my brush and put it in these. So either way, one other tip, by the way, I didn't mention. You can even mix right here in this tin. Hear that? It's metal. What happens is when you first go to use that, let me just show you. So we've got blue here. Oh, you know, I treated this, so it's not gonna work. So typically with a brand new palette, you can see it a little bit here. It's going to bead up like crazy on a new palette. Let me show you. This palette is worn in, but this is brand new. Watch this. If I go into this palette, look at that. See what it's doing there? And me, I can't paint like that. So what you want to do is, if you don't choose to use a ceramic palette, these are all, like I said, from Meiden, and I'll list all these supplies down below for you. It's going to bead up. What I do is, you can either take toothpaste and rough this all up, wipe it down, repeat with the toothpaste a few times. Better yet, I take a very fine grit sandpaper and I will sandpaper all this, clean it off, and you will get this nice ability to put your paints in there. So you can use this versus this, but you know what? I think these are a great investment, and for me, this is worth it. I will show you, there's different sizes. This little one is nice because it's portable and I can hold it in my hand. They have another one. They've got all kinds, a little bit bigger, but I love these, you guys. So again, I will put all those Meiden products. They're even been nice enough to give me a little discount code for you guys. And I'm going to show you my water dish. Really important in watercolors, because watercolors are so transparent. You want to have 2 containers. One to wash your brush. Now mine's a bit blue because I just use that blue. Wash all that paint out of your brush. Scrape it off the side. Make sure that you've gotten all that paint out. Then rinse it just to double check. Because if you take that blue and say, for instance, if you haven't studied the color wheel, let me show you. You don't want to carry over whatever paint might be in your brush to some of your other colors, because watercolors is so transparent, you could create kind of a muddy or dull color. Colors opposite on the color wheel are going to create mud, a neutral, very dull. So if, for instance, you just happen to use a blue, and then you decided maybe a blue sky, I want to paint an orange sunflower. You go into the orange and now you've got mud. So I get a lot of emails that say, why are my colors so dull? That's why. Therefore, make sure, now again, I love this Meiden palette. It's sturdy, it cleans up well. I have knocked over too many paper cups, red Solo cups. I have seen people use mason jars. Totally fine, you guys, but for me, I love this bright white, these bright white pieces. So lastly, I want to talk about brushes, and I am really simplifying this for you guys, so know that. Brushes can be really confusing for a number of reasons. I'm just going to touch on them. Again, when I went to school, Princeton, that's what you bought, period. You didn't have choices. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't go shopping on Amazon. It wasn't even around. So you bought Princeton brushes. That's what they gave you as a supply list. They're fabulous brushes. I love them. So that is a Princeton brush. I also have my brushes, which will be re-released for a limited time. They're custom. I curated them. Pink, if you haven't followed me, this pink color, my brand color, you guys. I'm obsessed with it for years. So that is my set. It will be re-released this summer, by the way, in 2025. If you don't want to spend, $8 to maybe $20 on one brush as a beginner, go for the Degatos. This is a whole set, and I think they're like $15. Such a great way to start, to get your feet wet in watercolors. They have great points. And start with a round brush. That's my suggestion, because you can get into all these different brushes, from fun angle brushes to a full, huge, big old bad boy brush, to very small detail brushes. But try an 8 round in a Princeton. Now, I'm just going to touch really briefly, because this can make a difference with your paintbrushes. A every manufacturer is different. So let me see if I can show you. Okay, so here is my 8 round. See that? Now I did create this from scratch. I gave him the measurements. I gave him everything. Here is an 8 round. See the difference? This one's much fatter, wider, even a little longer. As well, look at this one. Totally different. Where I'm going with that is know that if you order an 8 round, depending on the manufacturer, they're going to be different. So just so you know that, but the 8 Princeton Velvet Touch round is going to be a great little brush to start with. Unless you're painting really large pictures, artwork, then you're going to want to go with something a little bit bigger. So I wanted to point that out because I have recommended an 8 round for somebody and they went to a different manufacturer, which is fine, but just know that it may look a little bit different. Last thing on the brushes, what we've got here, so the Degatos and even my brush, I like a snappy brush. What that means is it's a little bit stiff. It snaps back, so that point snaps back into that point shape. Now, with, say, the Princeton, this is their Neptune series, not the Velvet Touch. The Velvet Touch is snappier like mine. I designed mine a bit after the Velvet Touch. A softer brush, they call their Neptune line, is going to be way softer. It's going to, the softer the brush holds more water. The snappier the brush holds less water. So again, for me, how I like to teach, for what I have found in workshops, buying a snappier brush, which would be Velvet Touch Princeton, or my brushes, or Degatos, and there's others, but those are the ones I refer. The snappier brush is going to be easier. You're going to have a little bit more control, and that's why I love them. The softer brushes are fabulous for wet and those soft flowy designs, but they are a little bit harder to control the water and pigment. I wanted to point that out. Now, lastly, I hope you're getting really excited, by the way, for this journey. Lastly, it's good to have a pencil. And I do a lot of just guidelines where I just draw, okay, this is basically where I want to place my elements, and I use a good pencil. I just happen to use the Blackwing because I tend to go through a lot of erasers, and this one is replaceable. Otherwise, I end up with a lot of half pencils and no erasers. So this one, I can just keep replacing that, and it's kind of thin. And I like that. I can get into smaller places. The other thing is, for me, not a detail person, guys. I've done it, but these days I don't like that fussiness. That's why I love watercolors. I use a micron pen, and you'll see this in my future tutorials in this beginner's playlist. We can use pen and ink. Let me show you actually. Let's see if I can find one. So this was a painting I did, and pretty washy. What I did is I went in with pen ink, micron, and I just kind of added some of these easy details, basically following how the watercolor presented the shapes. And it just gave me that little bit of detail, some of the little prickly points here, a little bit of the veins in the flowers. That's enough detail for me, guys. I want my viewer to use their imagination. The other thing is, now water paper is textured. It's got, especially cold press. Hot press, which we're not going to go into, is a lot smoother. It's just as if you used a hot iron on it. Cold press, there's no heat. So if you were to iron your clothes with a hot iron, it's going to flatten it out. And what that means is the surface is going to flow a lot. It's perfect for crisp details, illustration, if you like portraits, but I like the bumpy surface, and it gives me this beautiful texture that I personally love. And we'll go into that more in the coming tutorials I'm putting in this playlist. This funny little guy is a kneaded eraser. When I sketch out kind of placement for a floral or something I'm going to be painting, you don't want to scrub to erase any pencil lines, because you're going to ruin that beautiful texture that's on watercolor paper. So if you use this little guy, let me show you. Here, let's use this one. No, let's use this one. So I've got my little line there. Hopefully you can see that. And I don't want that to show through my watercolors. Remember, watercolors are very transparent unless you're using them like an acrylic really thick. And this might show through. I actually don't mind that, but if you don't want that, roll over it with one of these kneaded erasers, and it's going to lighten it up. Look at that. Without damaging that beautiful, organic, wonderful cold press texture. Now I could keep going and get it to almost completely disappear, and you're not scrubbing the paper. So a kneaded eraser is really handy. They're very inexpensive to pick up on Amazon. Again, I will put all the links to what I use that I have ordered in the past down below. Look in the descriptions. I'm always going to put whatever I used in my descriptions. You might have to scroll down a bit, but they're all in there. So, welcome to Watercolors. I hope that you are inspired. I hope I've kind of answered some questions. Feel free to answer questions down below. I've been here on YouTube for 2 years. I also have a Patreon because I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with some of you, and Patreon allows that. Patreon also allows us to share pictures and photos and chit chat with other beginner artists, which I think support is everything in, when you're starting out something new like this. So make sure and put your questions down below, and I am happy to help you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to tell you, if you were drawn to watercolors and art, you're an artist. That's that little artist voice in you saying, I want to play. And I am all about drop the perfection. Just see progress, play, because when you're tight and fussy and worried about getting it perfect, you can't create in that place. You're all artists, I promise you. And one of the great things that I love is working with you individually or in our group classes, and I can help you specifically with whatever you're struggling with. And it's always, you guys would be amazed, the smallest little tweak. Maybe I see you held your brush wrong. Maybe you had just a little bit of water, and I can share with you a little tweak, and all of a sudden the smiles come out. You're ready. So please ask any questions. I'm here to support you. If you're a beginner, again, you are in the right place. I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna have the patience for you. I want you to play, explore, discover, and let me know how I can support you better. All right, everybody, I'll be here reminding you, you are an artist, I promise that. And let's start having some fun. Go to the next tutorial, which I will be putting up in maybe next week. And let's start playing with these brushes and how to load our brushes, how to get pigment on our brushes, and a few brush strokes. All right, everybody, I'm so proud of you for being here and starting this journey, and let's have some fun. All right, I'll see you soon.